Little update here. We're experiencing a X flare right now as we're currently one underway, and it's dropped now to 1.6. So I'm going to give just a second here for everybody to kind of get into the room. But currently, right here, experiencing our new X flare, and wow, quite a bit we've had. In the meantime, I'm waiting. I'll get this show set up here. Get that one up there. Load this up. Get some camera adjustments here. Why? What's this hooked on? There we go. Let that play for a second there. Go right to the end and see our right there. Wham. All right, so pause right there. We got that set up. Let's pull up space weather while we're here. Well, it looks like nobody's showing up. That's okay. We'll just use it for the record. Pull this up. See if we can capture this event right now. Oh, there's one person in there. All right, so just kind of let that load up for a second. I have that going in the background. All right, for the one person, we're currently experiencing an X flare here. And what I'm going to do is open up this chart real quick. And you can see right here, down at the bottom, the maximum was X 3.4. It's currently at 1.6 right now. So it just peaked a second ago, and already kind of starting to drop down here. But like I said, our maximum was X 3.4, and it's kind of currently dropping. So right now we're currently in an X flare event right now. It's currently underway. So last show here, I was talking about how this latest X flare, I didn't get to report on it until everybody else did. And now here's my opportunity to catch one while it's underway. Okay, so we're currently having an X flare. It was maxed out at 3.4. It's currently at 1.6. So expect to see another little red box right here indicating another X flare. Okay, it's most likely out of 3664, the one that's been pumping out all the X flares this whole time. And then something I didn't do last show, down here at these sunspots, the one that was beta gamma delta the other day, this one 3676, it's now beta gamma. But this is one we should watch a little bit. And what I want to do real quick is take you over to that sunspot. It's this one right here, and it's just past the earth facing spot, but it's very volatile. That one right there could be, one to watch out for. It has reduced. It was beta gamma delta, and then we have this 3679 region coming in soon. So that was something we didn't touch base on the last show. So currently underway, X 1.6 at the moment. It'll refresh and as it kind of descends down, but a lot of X flares. We had 3 in one day here. We've had 10 or so over the course of the last week or two. All right, so it's just been X flare after X flare after X flare, and here we go with the one right now, currently underway. And like I said, it's most probably out of 3664. I tried to get this updated here, but I don't know if our last frame is going to have it. It might be this right here. Wait, last frame. That one right there. This right here, probably this little event that's going underway right here is probably our new little X flare that we're seeing, because we're here at 8 UTC already. So I bet it's this little event right here that's underway. If you look, you can see some flow going back in this region, something back in here. Okay, so really quick, let's tap on this again and see if it's updated. Yeah, see, it's dropping down more and more. It's currently, well, still at 1.6, but it looked like it maxed out at 3.4 there. Just as I saw this going off, I thought, uh-oh, I better go to the bathroom, grab a soda, and go live here. And in that short little time, it had maxed out at 3.4. Okay, so a lot of activity coming out of our sun. All right, our X flare potential. Remember, I was talking about 40%. It could be higher, I guess, because we're currently having one. So they might bump that back up. I think they lowered that because all the indices dropped a little bit. But just because the indices drop doesn't mean a big object can't interact with the sun and cause some kind of flare. We're having right there, that region, and that's right around where 3664 was in that quadrant of the sun. So it could be coming off the backside. There's probably object approaching, and it's reached out to it as it was passing. So in the coming frames, once this all the rest of this data comes out, we'll be able to see what happens here and how it blossoms. Now, what I wanted to point out while we're here is these two other spires. Where's my pointer? Right here and right here. They're indicators. They're like magnetic needles pointing at other magnetic fields that are out there. So even though this event right here, caused an X flare, there's still, there's still potential out there for other objects. Something else is out there. And then again, too, not everything is coming out of these glowing regions. This latest one seems to be, coming out of the sunspot. So we have, these needles that kind of point at inbound stuff. And not every time does it come, close enough to the sun or the satellite catches it in the frame. Sometimes they're outside the peripheral view of this camera, and we see the flow and stuff reaching out to it. So there could be something out here further out of frame that these are reacting to. All right, but that's your current activity. I bet it's this little one right down here, right at the very end. It'd be the last frame of the data that we have because this is currently underway. Let me refresh that. Let's see. Yeah, see, it's now dropped to 1.0. See, it wasn't refreshing there. I was waiting for an updated number, but we're still in X range. It's still X10 right now at this moment. So, yeah, we need to watch out for some of these sunspots. Like I said, this one right here. Well, it's kind of rotating out of view. That one will probably be next to kind of watch. All right, this one still. I mean, there's still a ways to go until it makes it to the limb. All right, and it hasn't fired out anything. Most of all this has been out of 64 this whole time. 64 will go down in history as probably one of the most active regions ever in history. Kicked out how many X flares over the course of this whole time? Well, probably 20 or something like that if we go back to when this thing first started acting up. Maybe not 20, but it's been quite a few. We had 3 right here. There's 4 sitting right there. So when I say 20 and there's 4 of them sitting right there, I only leave 16 more. And if we're 4 per day, well, in the last 4 days, 4 times 4 is 16. So we could be around that number in that region. We're probably past 10 X flares, well past 10 of them, around 20. And here we are, another one underway. Like I said, kind of ironic. I wanted to report on this one all day and couldn't get to it, watching everybody else get to report on it, and then I finally get last dibs at it, and now I get first dibs at this one because it's currently underway. All right, this will change then, this geomagnetic forecast. Well, actually, if that's coming off the backside, we'll see. It really depends on where this one's coming out of. Okay, but so far tomorrow on the 15th, we're still expecting a G1. All right, it's not major, but it is some impact. And then here again, there's our impact right there. So let me lower that, just dab it. So you can see we're still having our proton storm event, and we're absorbing a lot of energy. This energy gets directed to the core of the planet. It's going to cause issues later on down below. We're going to have earthquakes and volcanoes. We're already seeing some activity, but it seems to be kind of quelled for right now because of because of this activity right here. This is more pressure from the outside squeezing down on the earth, while the earth, like a hard-boiled egg overcooking, wants to expand from the inside outward. Well, imagine having that egg in your hand and you're squeezing down on it, stopping that outward pressure from being released. It's almost like a magnetic grip type effect that's quelling our earthquakes and allowing some of the volcanoes. It's like when you squeeze a tomato and there's little holes in the skin already, the juice is going to squeeze out of the little holes first, right? So when there's a magnetic grip kind of holding all the plates and everything solid, and not letting a bunch of earthquake activity vent the pressure, then it's those perforations in the crust, your volcanoes, your mud pits, your any kind of fissure, crack like that can vent magma is going to, you're going to see that pressure coming out of those perforations instead. And until this proton storm and any other CMEs and stuff are over and we're done getting bombarded and this magnetic grip kind of releases, we're kind of all right for the moment. But once all this magnetic grip releases and all the energy over the past few days that we've absorbed here, all of this, even this little one, this is all energy going to the core, is going to result in a lot of pressure, a lot of earthquakes, bigger magnitude earthquakes, bigger higher altitude eruptions from pressure. Okay, and now tack on even more. Even though the CME or any kind of ejecta might not hit us, the X-rays themselves just penetrated and lit up the D layer. The D layer is going to keep heating and heating and heating, and it's like a sphere outside of a sphere, right? It's another layer that envelops the planet, right? And if that layer heats up, well, that's gonna cause other layers down below to heat up. It's going to cause weather to react differently and behave differently. We're already seeing other factors in our weather as well with the spheres. And now we're going to be adding, more energy down below. It's very, very dangerous dance here. If we don't regulate the pressure properly through earthquakes and volcanoes, and we might see, you know what? I wonder if I could pull this up real quick. You guys got a second? We're not doing too much here. Oops. Lightning from the ground. There's a video out here. Where is it? There's a guy getting struck. All right, so upward lightning. All right, this is what I'm talking about. Now, much like lightning strikes from the cloud down to the ground causing a an ionizing, or the cloud causing an ionizing charge up above, and the ground trying to match a correlating charge down below, we get, whoops, what happened? That's not the video. There it is. We get the opposite effect. We get lightning coming up from the ground. And these are plasma discharges from the ground. When the Earth gets overcharged, we're emitting gamma rays. The planet's already emitting gamma rays. And some of these mountaintops, like volcanoes and stuff that already have the conduit, I've seen some mountains that are spitting lightning up into the sky, much like this right here. And that's not the video I was looking for. There was a gentleman walking on the street, and he's walking by the ear right here. Okay, that lightning came up from the ground. It didn't strike from the air down. See how it came up from the ground and struck him in the head? Or struck his umbrella. Oh, it hit his shoulder. I'm sorry. Okay, so if we don't have enough energy being discharged through volcanoes and earthquakes, we could get discharges like this, to where it could be striking a tree or striking a person right there. Okay, so plasma discharges from the ground are possible when the planet's overcharged like that. I know it's scary, but that's why it's important that we get enough of this energy, this radiation, electromagnetic radiation that we're absorbing here. Okay. All this that we absorbed is it has to vent out the planet some way. Okay, so when we're seeing a suppression of the earthquakes, and when I did the volcano report tonight, it just doesn't seem like we're getting enough pressure released quite yet. So I believe we're gonna possibly see, emissions from the ground. I want to open up the earthquake map real quick here. I think we might see emissions from the ground, some decent sized quakes. We could see somewhere a 7 or something like that. And if hopefully we get a nice even distribution of pressure as it comes in. We see, a flurry of quakes, a weak spot open up, and you have a bunch of quakes right there that releases a lot of energy, higher volcanic blasts, new volcanoes opening up, also release energy and stuff. So we're going to have a proper balance. Okay, what I'm talking about is a proper balance. All right, not, hey, we got too much and it's going to explode, or hey, we can all breathe easy. This is a delicate game. It's a very delicate balance, and it's important that we have an even distribution of pressure coming in and going out. Schumann, that's where I was going. I want to check the Schumann and check that kind of as an indicator of our pressure. All right, so we had our grinding event. Pressure did build up from our impact. Okay. It made it down to the core. The core and the shell grinded. They squealed. They emit these ELF waves. These are, low frequencies from 0 through 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so those are low frequency waves. And they're just very intense because you got a giant sphere grinding on a giant shell that's more than probably 5 times the size of all the continents put together. So That's going to create some, some grinding effects. And then this emanates from the ground up, hits the ionosphere and bounces back down as an echo, and that's what this picks up as the echoes. Picks up the hum of the 7.83, our electromagnetic hum from the dynamo inside the planet spinning around, creating the magnetic field, creates a 7.83 hum, and then when that grinds, all these frequencies intensify. Okay, this is all these frequencies very intense. All right, then it stops, gets really weak, and then another intense frequency blast. Okay, and I used to refer to these as blasts because they are blasting you with intense these frequencies very intensely. And it's like, imagine when you're listening to an AM radio and you're tuning it in from channel to channel and you hear the say you put on some headphones and you turn the volume up really loud, total maximum, and then you started changing channels, it's going to be really loud and quiet and really, intense. So imagine, like I said, headphones on, maxed out on the volume, and then try changing the channels and channel surfing. You're going to get all kinds of drops and peaks and all kinds of different noises. And so very similar in our intensity spikes throughout different frequencies. This one is a very intense spike that went through 40 hertz and even more. Okay. And that's an indication all this energy that we took in finally made it down there and has caused problems, and then it gets relieved, and then we get something like this that builds back up again. So probably here, if we don't have an even distribution of energy, we will see another grinding session here in another day or two out here in the future on the Schumann. Okay, and this is an indication of the pressure. When you see this grinding, that tells me that the pressure's maxed out. We got the shell and the core grinding. That's your new X flare, your 3.4 hitting the D region, and then backing up just really quick. Some new people came in. Currently going through an X flare. It maxed out at 3.4. Let me just click on that one more time. So down here, maximum was X 3.4, and it ended at X1, but it's still declining and dropping. So we're currently at X1. This needs to be refreshed. It's probably lower. Yeah, now we're down to M5.1. This thing's not refreshing on its own like it usually does. Okay, so we're just coming out of this X flare, maxed out. There it is right there, X 3.4. Just made it on the chart right there. Yep, 3664. I was right. Yeah, it's been the culprit this whole time. Look at this one. This was the only one, this M4.4, that isn't out of 64. So I've had to say that number for the last week and a half, this sunspot over and over again. X flare coming out of 64, X flare coming out of 64. And here we go. One more. You thought the show was over with this big one? Nope. It's kicking out another one. And that's not headed our way. It's coming off, heading towards the backside or whatever. It's rotated past the limb. But makes me wonder, is this thing going to come back around? When, this region will recycle and come back around the sun, is it still going to be, this active, gnarly sunspot like it was when it was 64? When it comes back around, it'll probably be, well, look, you see how the numbers increase. So it'll probably be like 3697 or 3705 or something like that if this region makes it all the way around. Meanwhile, our indices are still pretty decent. I mean, they have lowered a little bit overall through here. Okay, so that's the reasoning for the lowering of the X flare potential. But as we saw, our potential should be a little bit higher. All right. What else? We can go back to this real quick. I wasn't really planning on doing a live stream. I just looked up and saw this happening, and I'm like, uh-oh, there's my opportunity. Take a little peek over here at stereo. Nope, nothing on there yet. What I want to do is kind of go over yesterday's a little bit too. There was so much activity in this real quick. Now, if you watch over here on the red side, you see some of these objects come out of our glowing regions, but then these spires are still there. So on one pass, we'll let it go a few times, but on one pass, instead of watching the objects, just watch the spire action. And you'll see how they kind of, once it interacts, it dissipates, and some are still remain. Okay, and then I'm going to slow this down now, and then you guys can take a look at your objects that are just wreaking havoc on the sun. How you could think that there's no objects interacting with the sun here. I mean, we've captured quite a few good shots here. Let me capture that one again. I think it's the top one. Yeah. It's the frame before that one. Here you can see our bigger object in the background. It's got a little satellite moon right in front of it that's already grabbed up a bunch of plasma. You can see that once the CME hits it, you see this curvature right here. It's bending light around the sphere. The sphere is right there, and this is curving around the side of it, painting the very edge of the sphere right in there. And over on this side, you can see it pretty well. I think maybe one more frame back. No, it's forward then. Let's go that one or this one. You can clearly see a perfectly round shape right there. All right, that's the back side or the top side of the bigger sphere. We're gonna come over here. I think it's the frame before. Now you got to remember all these little particles. These aren't stars in the background. These are all the proton storm and everything. But here you can see there's probably a little object right here that's causing light to bend around right here. Because it looked like it was bending around this bigger object, but it seems now appears to be going, there's this little satellite or something right here that's causing this little curve. Okay, a CME doesn't come out and just curve, okay? This light is bending. This is not your regular CME activity. There's obviously something going on right there. This object is causing this CME to come out and turn and whip back. Oh, that's what I can try to do. There's a good shot. I think maybe if we dim it just a little bit. Take this light out of there. Let me turn that one off, Lord. All right, there we go. So we got some extrastellar bodies interacting with the sun, causing CMEs, big X flares. There's a great capture right there. And then slide it over there. And like I said, you can see this branches when they came out, they hit the back object and illuminated the outline of it. You can go. Now, you see how it keeps this perfectly symmetrical round structure. Usually a CME will blow out and be, rippled and have different wavy effects, not a perfectly symmetrically round structure. It's obvious that we have a round planetoid and the plasma from the sun is coming out, striking the little moon that's right in front of it. The rest of the plasma going around, streaking past the sides of it. And then if we come over here, all right. So we had that yesterday, and that event right there, several of these objects in one day causing the big 8.7 that we had is these bigger objects interacting. And then this shot right here with something, some craft or something streaking through the frame and getting illuminated during this CME. Have you ever seen such an image on this before? You've been here for a while. We've been through this a long time. Never have I seen something like that before. And you know what it kind of reminds me of is that new sky phenomenon. It looks like a movie reel strip in the sky lit up from behind. Kind of reminds me of that a little bit. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I'll have to find it and pull it up. But there's a new thing that was captured in the sky. It looks like in the clouds, it looks like a movie strip being lit up from behind. You know how you used to look at an old, the old movie projector in your class as they all film? You can hold it up to the light and look through the negative. Something going on there. And the odds of this thing streaking right through the middle of this, I mean, it just screams volumes. Okay, so there's other than normal activity going on out there, all right? And it's causing havoc here on the charts, on the planet. We're in a spiritual battle. And there's war in the heavens. And you could see it taking its toll on our sun, kicking out X flare after X flare after X flare after X flare. Oh, you know what? I think with this chart right here, if I'm not mistaken, I want to go this way. Nope, wrong way. I'm trying to squeeze this map down to a smaller size where it shows you the whole week's worth. Oh, guess I blew it there. Let's see if we can reset it here. Used to be a way where you could go back and you could see the whole week's worth history. Nope. How did I do that before? Oh, yeah, there we go. Nope. There was a way to go back. Oh, there it is. All right, so here we are. There's our latest X flare. There's the 3 that we had yesterday. There's another one there. There's 3 right there. There's another one there. 2 there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 since May 9th. That is a lot of X flares. I don't think I've seen that much activity coming out of our sun this whole time. All right, so yeah, that's as far back as I can go is 7 days. But there you go. There's a good little look at our past few days. Boom, 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 boom. There's 3 in one day right there. So if we're starting off with an X flare, how many more we think we're going to have today? We're going to have a couple more. This day didn't see an X flare, but that was a pretty strong M. This one's just barely reached X flare right there. That was X1. But then you have one right there and one right there. Remember this bigger one? And then one right here, 2 right there. So 64 has been very busy. And most of these M flares, you remember the one chart we were looking at back at like this point a week ago or few days back? And every single one of these all came out of 64. All the M flares, all the X flares. So pretty much everything that you're looking at on this chart is all out of region 64. Now, if it comes back around again, we could be in for another round of this. You know that, right? Or even one of these newer sunspots could, possibly. Let's just everybody brace and pray, okay? It's important that we get ready for this and understand what might happen and just, be prepared. We could see some earthquakes. We could see, we already have a lot of volcanoes going off, but it's just been very quiet. There's, not a lot going off right now. Yeah, the only quake's at 2.6 right now, so we're kind of in that magnetic grip, like I said, from the D region. And once this proton event ends and we're done getting bombarded by geomagnetic stuff, okay? Well, maybe here on the 16th, if none of this interacts with us and we get a break after this G1 and that magnetic grip is released, watch out around May 16th, we could see a big quake. Right? Because I don't think our volcanoes are doing enough. And I've seen way, way, way too much energy coming in. All of that right there over the past few days, all in, a pretty short time frame. So that's going to translate into a lot of energy being delivered over a very short time frame. Okay. There might even be like a big blast and then a second hiccup that even match the chart, because the swelling will increase really quick, lull, and then we'll have a secondary one. So there could be our first one, and we could still be waiting on a secondary one, or this could be the first and that could be the secondary. Okay, so we got more X flare energy, just came out of the sun, hit the D layer. It's probably not going to come our way. It came out of 64, which is already rotated past the limb, so we won't see a CME out of it, but we did get quite a good little strike on the D layer there. Okay, so just kind of wanted to bring that to you while it was happening, because everybody got their chance at this one earlier today, so I figured I'd cover this one while I'm doing it. Anything else we need to go over here? I already did a volcano report. Yeah, so we got to be careful of electric discharge coming up out of the ground. It would be ideal, well, not ideal, but This upward lightning, when you see it coming out of the ground, out of mountain tops, reaching up, that's just discharging a lot of the energy in a different form, but it's still energy being discharged. And there was one that wasn't too long ago. Yeah, there it is, right there. Now, the clouds have created the opposite charge at the base of them, but the energy itself is coming out of the ground. The cloud is just making the circuit, completing the circuit. So usually it's the other way around. We got energy coming out of the cloud and connecting more to the ground. Here, this is the opposite. This is pent up energy inside the planet erupting out of the ground skyward. And we could possibly see this effect more here in the future. That effect right there. Okay, so let's go back to this. Yeah, let's pray we have no more X flares. Or if this thing keeps popping off, it points the other way. This new region that's coming around here, that one seems to have quieted down. It was beta gamma delta, and now it's just beta gamma, so that's good. It's no delta configuration. This is the next one to watch out for, 3679. Let's go back. Whoops. 3679 is beta gamma right now, so we'll have to watch that one carefully next. Meantime, we haven't taken on a bunch of energy since our our big event. It's been very quiet since then. Okay, and we still have an impact due on the 15th, a G1, right? So that's yellow. We'll see probably a little yellow bar here pretty soon. Go up to 6 or 7 or whatever. They're saying 4 or 5, but we'll see. It might go up to 6 or 7. So we'll have another little yellow bar here pretty soon. But thankfully, it's just one yellow as opposed to a big old patch. Remember, that whole thing was all red. It spiked out. It maxed the chart out. And I believe it even went off the chart. So that was a lot of energy. That's like before when we were reporting, we would see 1 or 2 red bars maybe. Okay, and that's like 4 of those events all in one. So that was a lot of energy that we took on. And it's gonna have to, come out some way or the other. So everybody around the 16th, like I said, when this magnetic grip, let's go here, and we go G0, and now the pressure from down below is free to kind of ease and come up. We might see a big volcanic blast on the 16th, or a big earthquake, or both. Okay. Or hopefully the planet does its job and it vents this energy evenly over, a course of time instead of all at once. But unfortunately, the energy came in all at once. So we might see corresponding effect. We had the cause, so we might see the corresponding effect. So everybody just be alert and be prepared. And on the 16th, make sure you're aware of what you're doing, where you're going. Pay attention to the news that day in case there is a big event and you need to react or something. If you live in California and it's there, or no matter where you live, it could strike the New Madrid and hit the East Coast. You never know. Okay. But the way things have been behaving lately with the cessation of quakes while we're still in geomagnetic storming tells me that, once that storm is over and that magnetic grip has been released, that we're going to see that egg. We're squeezing down on the egg that's erupting from the inside in our hand. So when we release our hand, it's going to, all right. And hopefully not in a very sudden, violent way. Hopefully it's, a 6 here and a 5.5 there, and maybe a 6 over there, just scattered around. Because that kind of energy has the potential of popping a new spot, a new weak spot in the crust. Here we go. We've been looking at weak spots lately, and we had this latest one here at Vanuatu. Okay, big quake and a flurry there. We had this area with a big quake and flurry there. We had Taiwan with a big quake and a flurry there. Help me, Lord, where else? Help me, Lord, where else? Also, not as far as big quakes, but we do have Java here. That's our main relief valve. So don't be surprised if we see some energy, quake activity along this plate boundary. Oh, where did that one volcano go? Right here, off the tip of this little peninsula, our one that did the big blast. Watch for that one to possibly pump out a big one, okay? So there's all kinds of like little weak spots that we've been kind of tagging along the way. Well, I haven't been tagging them. I should have been, but that's something we're going to have to watch for. Oh, here. Let's go 1 day all magnitude here. Okay, lately this region in New York here had a quake there every day, just a small one. Nothing lately, but we have our quake suppression going on. So there's another potential for a weak spot that could see, a big quake. Right now, here we are in New Madrid, 2.3 here in Tennessee. You can see the hump coming up right there. So activity in that region, it's small, but it's active. Another region we could possibly see, well, again, here on the Juan de Fuca, any kind of, fulcrum point where pressure comes in. This one, we got pressure coming in from one fault and one the other way. So two times the pressure in one area. So a fulcrum point like that could snap. Or, something like this one as well. Something that's a very sharp angle like that could pose a problem. You know what we really need to do? Let's just do this because this is, it was telling me go right to here. It's like, you want to know where to look? Go right here. Okay. We could see volcanic activity out there underwater. We could see volcanic activity in that region underwater. A lot of, volcanic activity underwater going here already. So that could increase. We saw this travel down Japan. So when I see pressure in an area surrounding an island that's got, the island is made up of faults. There's a fault here, they come across, go up. So there's like a peninsula type fault structure with another one coming up to meet it. So I don't think you could design it any worse. You got fault, there's a 3-way intersection fault right here. All right. Then you got a 3-way intersection fault right there. the fault actually goes right across the land and goes up through the other side. So it crosses the island. The three-way junction for all these faults is just off the coast of this big old city. And it has a volcano and another volcano right there. So as we back out, you see this three-way junction and a volcano very close to each other. If you don't see an earthquake pop off here, you would see the pressure come out of this volcano instead. So everybody watch for this. This is Fuji, I believe, right? Mount Fuji? That could possibly go off. And here's Tokyo. Okay, so it's very close to a big population center, and we've already seen big quakes come out of Japan before. All right, so it's known for its bigger quakes on this active fault line right there. Taiwan as well. We saw a big quake happen here, right? And a bunch of little quakes. This is a very sharp fulcrum point. Comes right up and drives right up. All the pressure drives right up in there like that. You can see almost like a shovel blade came. The pressure came and pushed this island up out of the water. Okay, it came along the bottom and just pushed it all against the other plate here and shove this island up out of the water. That's how much pressure gets in that area. Enough to shove an island up out of the water. So regions to watch, even though the pressure in that area, go back here to this, even though the pressure around Taiwan seems to be kind of okay, I see a little yellow glowing right there now. And the reason why this area, we saw the fulcrum point, we saw a big quake and a lot of aftershocks. When it happened, it did a lot of damage to this place, right? People were hurt. What I want to show you is that on the island of Taiwan here, okay, you see this plate boundary coming up out of the ocean right here, running right across the island, right up through there, okay? That plate boundary runs through. This is all just city, all one big city connected to another city, to more city. Let's go in. You'll see it just continues. People and people, more people. That's a very densely populated area. That whole strip of Taiwan right there, very densely populated with a plate boundary going right through it, all right? Fault line going right through it. Now, we got lucky that all the pressure and stuff was relieved on this side, and it didn't snap, do anything to this fault line. But it's very, very delicate that everything gets vented properly and we don't see a rupture in this fault line. Same with the one over in California. Our San Andreas does something very similar. It runs right down San Francisco. Okay, this fault line, it snaps right here, has a reaction. All this area, that's a densely populated area, just like Tokyo, just like Japan is. Same with down here. We got LA in the LA basin. Here's your fault line running through the mountains just outside. Little, event here, very densely populated all through this region. So it's important that we see our energy distributed. Places like this, you couldn't ask for a better spot to distribute energy. I would love to see 75 quakes come out of there that are all mid-range 5s to 6s, nothing tsunami type, but it could vent a lot of energy out in the middle of nowhere and not do any damage to anybody. But unfortunately, man likes to build right on the freaking fault line, right on the fulcrum point, because, hey, it's got a volcano. Let's build a city around the base of a volcano. It's not the base, but Throughout history, they've always done that. I know the soil's fertile and rich, but when times like these come along and we have, activity on the sun, some of these regions aren't the best to be living in, right? And if we could possibly see, a big quake because we took in a bunch of energy and this turned out to be, a 9 or a 10 on the Richter scale, what ifs, we got to talk, possibilities a little bit, because this is so much and all at once, it could cause quite the burp from down below, and we would see a healthy quake anywhere on a plate boundary. Well, plate boundaries run along the coastlines and cause tsunamis. So no matter where a quake goes off, anywhere here in this part of the Pacific, it's going to trigger a tsunami that's going to hit either coast. If we had a quake here, it would trigger tsunami over here. Quake here, trigger tsunami over there. Quake here, still hits everything, okay? So this region right here, no matter what, it's going to send, if we get a big one, it's going to send a tsunami somewhere. So, as just some common sense, I'm not trying to start chaos or anything, but it would be advisable to back away from the coast for right now, until we see some of this pressure relieved in something that's tangible, that's equal, that's, something that's, we can see an effect, an equal effect. We're going to continue to have that pressure. And like I said, the big ones go off around the Ring of Fire, right? Well, the Ring of Fire is all on the water. So we're talking any big quake anywhere around this whole area is going to set off a tsunami that's going to hit either coast, right? So, not to freak everybody out, but it would be advisable to back away from the coast for a little bit until we see some kind of equal energy distribution, or and we don't need more of this. We don't need more X flares hitting us either. Okay, we got enough energy as it is. So let's all pray that we don't get any more shots to the face. Now that 3664 is rotated out of view, we could all breathe for a minute, relieve some pressure before taking on more. Okay. Thankfully, that's not facing us right now, but the x-rays from it don't help. All right. So, not like I'm saying, I'm not trying to freak people out, but think about this, folks. Go back and take a look at the footage from Japan from back at 2011, the 9.3, I think. All right. And if it doesn't happen, hey, you backed away from the coast for a while and you have a backup plan for when it does happen. Okay? But I usually wouldn't say anything like that unless there was a reason. Okay? Because I'm not here to scare people and freak them out. But like I showed you, all the energy over the course of a while. And that's why I'm a stickler for absorption too. Because it translates into pressure down below, and it's going to be released one way or the other. Okay, so everybody be aware of how that works, and just be accordingly prepared around the 16th, maybe the 17th. It could take a little bit longer. Depends on if we have another round hit us and quell that, another magnetic or geomagnetic event happens and quells the quake activity for a minute. That could, postpone it for a while. So the D-layer absorption is kind of postponing this for a minute, and I believe that once this relieves, that we could possibly, that's when we'll see our bigger quake activity. All right, so important everybody be aware, stay on top of this. I can't always be on top of it. I have long hours and I barely get any rest. So I try to get some rest when I can, and during the times when I'm got the long hours, I try to do what I can. So yeah, X flare potential, maybe put it back up there a little bit higher because we just had one. Even though the indices have dropped, we still have um, we still have a couple of spires there, and I believe as we close in on the center mass of all of this, we will continue to see it just ramp up more and more. Okay, so here's that like film strip effect that I was talking about, even on this in the streaks. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. You've seen it. Oh yeah, excuse me. I knew some of you guys were be around, so I figured I'd just get her done now while I can. Currently had an X flare. It like I said, maxed out at 3.4. More time back to this is a little wrap up. Actually, we can continue. 3.4. Yeah, that was the max, and now it's dropping. Okay. Now, what other good stuff can we do? We did the D-layer. We did. Ooh, I wonder what stereo A captured on the 14th, the big day. Yeah, maybe we could pick through these frames just a tad bit. You guys want to do that? No? Well, tough. We're going to do it anyway. All right, opening frame right there. Now, stereo A only takes a frame like every hour, so we don't get as much data, but you get to see this blast right here. And stereo A's just off to the side of the Earth. It's basically the same perspective that we're used to seeing. Ooh. Oh, dude, that looks crazy. Cray. Look at this, you guys. Watch. You probably couldn't see it yet, but let's do. Oh, wait, leave it right there and darken it this way. All right. Remember that one I said was bending the light? You can see the black orb right here, the black spheroid. Look at these flames licking up it. It's like that hand holding the sphere again. Here's that bigger one that we were looking at that's back behind it there. Okay. And you can actually see plasma has connected around to this one, connected straight back to the bigger one. But every once in a while, stereo A will get a good shot, and you can see something going on right up in there, too. Let's see if we can roll that down just a tad bit. Yeah, so when you see a CME come out and make a 90-degree turn and go up like that, something wrong. There's something wrong right there, right? And you can see it's this round spheroid right here is causing the CME. It's bending the light. And then look how it forks out, too. So we got straight up and then whoop. So look at that. NASA, explain that. Explain how it goes up and then out. Yeah. The image says it all. The image says it all right there. That is just the most peculiar configuration. It's blatantly obvious. You could see God is like trying to hint at this stuff like, hey, do I have to make it any more obvious? Can't you see the cookie cutter circle? Can't you see the plasma hitting it? Shit, there's a moon right here in front. I'm holding it for you. Can't you see it in my hand? Oh my goodness. Quite the shot there, huh? Stereo A always gets some good ones, or it used to when it was positioned right. But yeah, that's quite the frame right there, huh? Nothing to see here. Move on. Wow, that is the craziest looking CME I've ever seen. Then you can tell. I want to see somebody else explain why it's doing this right here, because they won't be able to unless they understand what's really going on. But did it ever occur to you that I'm the only one that ever says this stuff? Is there anybody else out there that reports that, yeah, there's giant spheroids ripping plasma off the sun? No. So, picture's worth 1,000 words, eh? And then we got this little guy jamming through there too, just making his. Remember that streak we saw one time, illuminated. Well, here's another streak being illuminated by the solar wind or whatever. That's why it's wanted to come over here to Stereo A and see what we captured over here, because sometimes we'll get a gem every once in a while out of that one. And let's see what the next frame holds. It might be even better. Oh, I'll zoom in on that one too. Why don't we? It reminds me like the Grinch's hand with the extra long fur on his fingertips that flops over or whatever. Perfect circle right there. Plasma reaching out to it, hitting the surface of it, and spreading out in a circular fashion. The other little moon floating out in front of it. It's got plasma. Notice how it's bending light. It's taking this little finger of plasma. See the kink in it? Pink? See how it's turned? This one's done the same thing. So we have two of them that have done not a 90 degree, but almost 90 degree. And even this one kind of too. There's probably something right in there. And we got plasma maybe striking something before it hits the one behind. All right, these things are interacting with the sun, and no telling how many more interactions we're going to have. There's not like a map of these things when they're inbound. The only map we really have are these spires that indicate, inbound stuff. Let me get this right. Our other object over here. Back it up, go forward again with that. Oh, all right. Well, that was all the data out of Stereo A. At least we got that one good shot. Ooh, you can see something going on right there. Back up a little bit. Yeah. Right there. All right, so little peek at Stereo A there. Oh, we could actually slow that one down. Yeah, watch this one come out here. Oh, come here, you. I'm trying to capture the motion of it as it approaches the sun and moves past it. So it's coming out of that quadrant, moving this way towards us over the sun. And the sun reaches out, latches onto those. Notice the shockwave ripple go down that. Did you see that? Watch the shockwave go down the thing first, then the event. That shockwave came from the lower event here. This sent a wave down that, and then you see our event cut through it. Wow. All right, let's back out and come back over here. Let's refresh, see what happened with our X flare. Okay, it's lowering down to M27 now, so waning, finally dying off. But again, an X 3.4 out of region 64, 3664. Looks like Lord Please Star Child. Kind of look like the fairy for Walt Disney. Yeah, you guys see, it wouldn't surprise me because there are some spiritual events, we'll say, attached to this. And a lot of people say, how can that be? And, well, when you realize who's in control of the stars and the heavens, then you'll go, oh, yeah, of course, biblical. So, regions to watch: Japan, Taiwan. I've watched this out here possibly too. Everybody on the fault line there. We could even see something in there. We're up by New York. You know who's overdue is this region too. So you could possibly see a big quake in that region or one of these volcanoes going on. Notice how there's not much pressure in this area. It's very low. Not low, but there's not as much hot water anomalies per se, like right here off of Spain, the Canary Islands, and off the coast of Africa here. Even seeing a hot spot growing down here. Some of the coldest water currents in the world flow right through here, and here we have this hot water anomaly at the tip of Africa. All right, so we could possibly see underwater earthquake or an underwater volcano that would surprise, as well as anything on the land. All right, here we go. Here's Java. Right by Semeru right there, 4.9 or a 5. Down at 257, just struck right in the Sunda Strait. Well, that's the Sunda Strait right there, but just inside right there. And it's down at 257. It's not a surface quake. That's pressure right there now starting to release around our relief valve here. Remember, I was just saying, watch Java, even if it's not a big quake or whatever, to watch this region because it's our relief valve. And lo and behold, here we go. Our recent quake right there. 5 right there in the Sunda Strait. We also have Krakatoa right here. The son of Krakatoa. All right. The remnants of Krakatoa. Krakatoa is the one that went off and darkened the planet for 2 years. All right. So that very volcano right where my pointer's sitting is not far from that quake. Here we are at Java. Here's our volcanoes right here. Our earthquake happened right there. We also have big emissions coming out of the straits right here. This is water this channel right here is water. And if this isn't the wind doing this, I put the wind on real quick. Make sure. All right, that might be from the wind. Taking some of these gases and shoving them through the straits and concentrating them in between these islands in that corridor. But what I was about to say could be happening here is you might be seeing SO2 emissions underwater and it bubbles up to the surface. I wonder if there's a bunch of bubbles coming up from the water in this region, and we're seeing SO2 emissions, bubble up to the surface of the water because they're emitting from the ocean floor. Not sure. That seemed to be more of the wind currents, but we could see something along those lines of methane release, SO2 releases from underwater. Okay. And we just had our quake right there, right where my little pointer is. So there we go. Pressure in that area being released. Things are starting to light up a little bit here. Let's go into Hawaii. They just had a quake. The recent one is this one, a 2.0. Their activity from the day ranged from a 3.4, 0.08. So a little bit of activity going on in the hub of the wheel. Okay. You could possibly have an event there as well. A volcano event coming out of Hawaii. Where else? That spot. We'll have to watch this spot at Vanuatu that just had a big quake not too long ago in a flurry. I already pointed that one out. But see how this pressure rounds off and comes right back to that point right there. So watch that point. The volcanoes, all the volcanoes in this archipelago now. Every single volcano in this archipelago, watch them closely. Something else we need to talk about also is a volcano blast can trigger a tsunami as well. All right, so just be alert that we have a lot of pressure built up from our activity on the sun. I haven't seen a proper release yet. I don't see, an even distribution for what came in. I believe we're having that magnetic grip, and then when that releases, we will see much more activity. So almost kind of pray for this delayer absorption to continue, because it's just postponing the earthquake or, any kind of pressure release that we'll see. And, I could always be wrong, and I would so love to be wrong on this. Oh, God, I would so love to be wrong on this. A lot of red on this map. A lot of red. And that tells you, hey, warning, there's a lot of red on the map. So everybody take heed, be aware. Even come over here and get familiar with maybe watching what's coming off the sun, or at least get familiar with this site and monitor this chart throughout the day. Because if you say we had a big X flare and we had a big D region absorption hit right over America, right? And our magnetic field ain't feeling so good that day because we have absorbed a bunch of stuff and it's grinding, right? So we're grinding and we're producing a really weak magnetic field. And then you have an event like this. Come here. Say hit during the daytime. All right. It's gonna impact you as well. All right. So It's important that you kind of keep a heads up of what's going on before you head out for the day. Check your weather, check your space weather a little bit before you go out during the day. Because if there's a huge event going on like this and you're planning on texting and driving, well, you might just be doing some driving and no texting. Get what I'm saying? So it's good to be aware of your weather, your space weather, and just kind of keep tabs on what's going on and understand how this works. So when energy like this comes in, you'll know you won't be caught off guard when a big quake happens or something. You'll understand, well, we did have that activity on the sun and it relates to the pressure, and then we see a release. And okay, hopefully it's nothing too big. I would really love to see, microquakes and big flurries of microquakes relieving energy, but they don't do enough. It has to be a substantial, they need to be, pretty substantial, but within range of doing damage, which is a delicate balance too. So, all right, I think that might be it for tonight. I just wanted to catch this while it was ongoing. Like I said, I don't always get to catch them live, so now I won't feel so bad the rest of the day when everybody doing their reports on this. I'll know I got mine out of the way already. So, all right, and then everybody, watch out for your G1 tomorrow, and then the release of pressure. When that grip is released, you might see it right away because it was a big jolt of energy right away. So watch out on the 16th. If it doesn't happen on the 16th, doesn't mean it's over. It could be a few days down the line. So, but I believe that once this magnetic grip is released, soon after we'll see the release of pressure through volcanoes and earthquakes. Hopefully nothing too big, but the possibility is out there now for a big quake. All right. I don't go around predicting quakes and big quakes, but I'm telling you, there a lot of energy went in. Energy in, energy out. Okay, until we see something that equals a bunch of X flares come flying out of the planet. You know what I'm saying? We've got to have some kind of release of energy equal or equivalent somewhere along those lines. And now we just took on more. So it will be even more than what, say we use this as a reference, a chunk reference. Okay, this much energy came in, this much comes out. Whoops, add a little bit to that right there. Well, we're also going to have to keep continuing to add to this, even though there's nothing on the chart, because we're having D-layer absorption as well. Oh, come back here. We're having D-layer absorption as well. That doesn't get on that chart. Okay. Whew. All right. I think that's it for right now. No readings, none of that stuff, no spiritual report. This was just basically a, hey, we have an X flare currently happening update, and basically what to expect as far as this pressure release happening maybe 16th or 17th. I know he likes the number 17, so it might happen on that day too. Yeah, I think that's about it for right now. I just wanted to cover this X flare while it was underway, and now it seems to be diminishing. One last touching base with it before we go. Yeah. Maxed out at X 3.4. You know what? Let's take that down. You notice Taiwan's emitting some SO2 as well. up here at the north end of the island. So it's relieving pressure there, but it's also indicating that there's some still down below. That region right there. It wouldn't surprise me if China had a quake, tell you the truth. Let's watch this. Go back a little bit during their daytime. This region has had, bad gas for a long time, and it does relieve the pressure when the gas escapes, but this whole region gets a lot of pressure built up underneath it. So if a big burp were to come up from below, it could be in that region as well. Anywhere you're seeing these purple dots really intense could be a weak spot as well. Something we need to check. Bio fire. Yeah, we got some fires growing up here because of these SO2 plumes. All right. This gas, when it comes out of the ground, is super hot. All right. You're also getting magma that's sneaking up through the perforation as well. All right. So it doesn't necessarily need a flame to touch. The radiant heat from down below can cause stuff to spontaneously combust at the surface. The heat from down below can cause stuff to spontaneously combust at the surface. These fires are erupting around your sites. They correlate with them, don't they? Yep. Some people just swallowed hard there. Nope. I had no idea. Yeah, so your fire season up in Canada that's already starting, that's way kind of out of season or whatever, right? It's not because the forests are so dry and there's no dew weapons starting forest fires, okay? It's not these directed energy weapons starting forest fires up there. They're coming from down below. They don't want you to know. Have you guys seen trees that are burning from the inside out? How would that happen unless it was started from down below in the root structure and fire grew up through the middle of the tree? All kinds of mysteries solved, huh? And before, when BP Earthwatch showed a couple of these little dots on the West Coast and everybody jumped out of their skin, well, hey, jump back in your skin. They're starting freaking forest fires. Capiche? Comprende? Catorce? So, when your media tells you one thing, you'll know different. Now, it's not every single spot has a fire, okay? But don't be surprised. See how intense this one is? Don't be surprised to see a little fire grow there. And then these other little ones that are in the region, okay? Now, if you're in a region like this and you know that these things have the potential to possibly start fires, and you look up in this region, you see fires are happening up in this region. A lot of people ask me, where's a safe place to go? Where's the safest place to go? Right next to me. Yeah. But take a look at this map. Open it up. Look at your vicinity. Is it Is your area looking like a safe place to go, or does that look like a safe place to go? Maybe. Gee, where's a safe place? You know, where are you gonna? Look at this. We have plumes out here in the middle of the desert starting fires. See that right there? See how they're correlating with the plumes? All right. That was interesting, huh? Let's go. With that one still sitting up. Just up. We're not going anywhere. It's climbing back up. Look at this. Just as I was about to go, do you see that little hiccup starting to climb back up? So what I'm going to do is while we're waiting for that next little hiccup to grow, ow, we're going to put on something in the background for a second. A little tutorial of the latest discovery. Okay, so we had the dome effect that we captured in my skies the other day. I wanted to take you to where to go. Oh, this one. Taking this woman right here with her arms up, praying or something. Come on. Oh, I just want to play this video real quick for you guys in the background. Come on. As it plows through the air. Right about there, I think it starts to show. Yeah. Major thunderstorm right there. That looks to me to be obviously caused by this object. Whether it's twisting and causing that, or just its trajectory compared to the big one behind it induces a new airflow, a new flow asymmetry. You see the circular spheroid controlling the weather? This thing goes here to Jacksonville. I'll be right back. Oh! Where did they go? Just a little bit right there. Now we can see the bigger one back behind. Remember, this tail is still pointing at the back of it. So you can see it right in there. You see a little clearing right there. That's like the top leading edge of that sphere. See it break through the clouds a little bit there. I gotta try to get rid of this ad for a second while we're waiting for a new thing of data to come in. All right, here we go. Yes, hopefully a little bit better here. And then as soon as I get it right, they got to squeeze an ad in there. You know, greed is going to really mess up something. We're going to be in the middle of something super important, and it's going to be missed because commercial break, and somebody had to get some ad revenue for the last, 15 minutes of their life playing games when we got important business to take care of. All right, whoops. Can you see how I can get frustrated with this stuff sometimes? All right, trying to save lives here. And all right, so you can see the round circular effect that we're seeing right there, right? So there's another factor in your weather. All right. That's why when I do the weather reports, I say there's another factor in your weather. Very, very, very similar. Wait, where's the end of it? Right here. Let me get this part pulled up for you. Very similar activity to what we're seeing happening next to the sun. The bottom of it was probably, let's say, maybe 3,000 feet off the ground. And then the top of it is probably up towards 8,000, 9,000 feet or something. It's lifting air way up high up there, causing it to convect. See this, the tail, as air wraps around a sphere underneath it, around the sides and over the top, they all collide at the back here, and in turbulence, they all run into each other and create this vortex tail. The very same kind of like spaghettification effect that we see when one of these passes by the sun. Now they're interacting with our planet. All right. They're interacting with the sun and they're interacting with our planet. And they're causing weather events. There we go. Now you can see it pretty good there. All right. So you have other things that are contributing to the weather. So these nighttime air mass collision nocturnal thunderstorm events. There's a new player in the game. Something going on there, right? You think that's natural? You think that's normal? I just let the images kind of speak for themselves right there. Wow. Let's get right there. And you see how the rain suppresses on the back side of the sphere, right? Because all the air drops back down lower. And now it's not raining anymore. And sometimes these spheres clear out a spot and there's no weather going over them. They move stuff out of the way. Other times, I think they're energized, electromagnetically charged, and they induce the weather. So these spheroids can also disrupt them, like split them apart. I've seen like, for instance, when this started, there was a smaller one in front. Let me just pull that up real quick here. This is what prompted me to catch this in the first place. I told you I'd be back. All right, I captured this effect again going on here. There's a smaller one in diameter right up front, right here. Jumps. All right, that's not a skipping data. That's whoops. Go back around. This is currently live. Our bigger one back here bumped the smaller one in front and nudged it. Sphere. All right, let me help. Let me slow down here. Try and get this centered. All right, our first sphere is right behind that storm front. You see the bulge in the front of that storm front? Our sphere is right there, and you can see stuff blossoming off the top of it at the very end there, okay? Now, back up behind here is a bigger sphere, and you can see stuff coming off of this first one going into a bigger one back behind. Now, when we have this plasma effect where it peels away from the sun and has the teardrop effect, there's the tail growing right there. So give it a second. There's a smaller diameter one down here. The bigger one comes from behind and nudges it forward. Just let your eyes kind of watch this motion here. And I'm trying to capture it for the record there while it's still live. And you can see the tail blossoming behind it. It's the spaghettification effect. There's a smaller sphere pushing down here, and then a bigger diameter one back behind it. All right, let me try to capture this again. All right. And when the bigger one comes up behind the smaller one, it pushes it forward. You see the flow asymmetries. You see how the clouds are reacting over the top of the small sphere. You see how they flow and disseminate and then go over the back sphere. Okay. There's no defined circle. It's in the flow asymmetries. It's like a rock moving underwater. And the back one is bigger in diameter and it comes up from behind and nudges the front one and pushes it forward and changes the storm front. You see what I'm saying there? You can see it, it's almost like fire blossoming off the top of the sphere. The weather is blossoming. Okay, see how this lower one is clear, yet stuff is blossoming off the top of it. All right, so here's your round spheroid object. You have the turbulence up at the front that's, all the turbulent air that's getting out of the way, firing up in front. Air goes over the top, cools, and condenses up at the top up here. And then as it flows over the other side, it rains and then dissipates. And towards the end, you can see that rain shadow effect of the dissipation on the backside of the spheroid object is very, very cookie cutter clear. Well, new influences on our weather, or not new, they've been there for a while, but newly documented. Okay. So, new player in your weather, actually been going on for a while. Let's see what this thing's doing here. We're up to M3.1. Let me refresh this because it seemed to be doing it's climbing again. So M3.5 now. So for a minute here, we got another little increase. This X flare hasn't descended all the way. It's not over. It's a long duration X flare. See, it didn't end. It didn't drop all the way back down to the line. It's something else starting now. And we're already at M3.5, and you can see our dot starting to glow a little brighter now here. And if this continues for however long, that dot's going to eventually move over towards the United States here. Let's go back to our D layer. What did I do with the D layer? Oh, I covered it up with something else. Well, we got this one for the moment. So as you can see, this is going to move this way. Hopefully this ends very soon, or whatever happens here, it doesn't take out our communications here, okay? So currently underway, X flare that was descending is now rebounding. And let's come back over to this. Let's see if we can get a few more frames of data out of this event down here. It's that one right there. All right, we got a couple extra frames. So, ooh. Oh boy. Here we go. Let me start zooming in. Let's back up one. Boom, right there. See that one? And put it right there. Okay, so you can see this one right here, enveloped in plasma all the way around it and stuff. So there is our event right there that we're watching on the charts right now. And then let's go another frame here. Oops. And it's coming. Something right there. Looks like it may be a secondary. Oh, get off of there. Something maybe right in here. Wow, that's a lot of plasma. Really hot way out there, too. I wonder if that is like this. Let's zoom in a little further on that, shall we? Whoops. All the way over, please. Looks to me like we've got one down below here. You see the circle right there. So there's one right there. The plasma draping off the top of it going back. Appears to be another one right here. The plasma is squeezed in between these two. Coming out the back. And let's see if we could just kind of look at how this plasma streaks all the way back. You see how it curves over and kind of comes back together. That's very similar to that twisted tail effect that we just saw on the satellite, on the radar. All right, so a couple more right there. And this is going off the backside like AR-64. So as these things approached, it fired at them, and now they're trailing away, stretching out this plasma, right? Creating a long duration event. Well, people are wondering why, how come these some are so spontaneous and others are very long duration? Well, we have the long duration ones because these, it stretches this stuff out, this spaghettification effect, I believe, when we have this continued long stretching out. And it was kind of a long duration event itself. It didn't happen too quickly. So let's back out here and put this back into motion. Let's look at it on this side for a second. Yeah, it's just too quick right there. So let's go over to the other side. And you know what? We need to slow it down. My bad. Jumping all around, slow her down. And then come over to this one and just kind of watch for a minute. One more time. And note, there's no spires in this area. Well, they're very weak right here. They're not really strong like this one. So not every time does it come out of one of these spire regions. Sometimes it comes out of these darker regions. All right, so we have some more activity going on, and it's causing an X flare. And now that X flare is kind of subsiding. It was 3.5. Now it's kind of arcing back down to 3.4. Yeah, see, it kind of went up, and now it's coming back down there. So, I mean, it just been a little speed bump in the rest of that ejection there. All right, so, excuse me. So, one more time, we had an X34 that's now down to an M34. All right, and more energy headed towards the planet, and everybody, watch these two dates right here. Not necessarily these dates, it's when this magnetic grip releases. So if this releases early, we could see it before then, but we still have a G1 to go through tomorrow. So I have a feeling after we absorb all this energy and our proton event is over and this magnetic grip is released, we'll see some kind of pressure from down below in the form of an earthquake, multiple earthquakes, multiple volcanoes, some form of pressure will be coming from the absorption of this. All right. So I think that's about it for now. I'm kind of getting tired and losing a little bit of my vision. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Everybody else is probably going to start reporting on it. So you can go check out their reports and stuff as well. Anything else pops up, I'll try to get to you. If not, there's other people that report on this, and you can come over to the instrument as well. And like I said, it's kind of important that you track this stuff a little bit. It's important that you understand that, hey, your magnetic field, like come over to the Schumann here. Let me pull this up real quick and just make sure you got a nice green bar. If you're going out during the daytime, that means your magnetic field's nice and strong and it's going to protect you. But if you're seeing, it's really dark and we're not having a very strong green line here, you might not want to go out in the midday sun to the beach and spend 8 hours in a radiation storm. Okay? Because the magnetic field, when it gets weak like that, it won't protect as well and more particles penetrate. Okay. And that also means more particles penetrate up at the D layer and get, travel down to the core as well. So it's like almost a runaway train once it gets rolling and gets started. If we don't get a break, then it can turn into a runaway train. So right now, it seems we're getting a break, even though we're getting another X flare. It's not our direction. We did get some of it in the D layer, but hopefully no CME out of that one. All right. So I think that's it for now, unless this thing goes up and makes another spike. What else could we show in the meantime? I showed you that. Let me go back here. Look this woman right here with her arms. Yeah, did you see that weird shape take place there? Where was that bulge? Yeah, we also had this water bulge. Way too quiet for all of this. I want to see more mid-range, even sixes. Where's that water bulge? Pop off. There it is. This was just before the eclipse. All right. There was an object traveling along with the moon, gravitational or whatever, lifted the water and created a water bulge. This is a smaller one, but way out here, you got to think perspective. All right. She's close by here on the shore. This is way out there in the water. Yeah, it's not picking it up. So the further away it is, the smaller it's going to look. We'll go back to a different one. If it looks this big, because there was a new one. Was it in there? No, that's the dome effect. Maybe it was in this one. Anyways, we captured another one over another body of water, and it had a little arch of fog in it as well. So some different effects going on. These water bulges right here that you see on these instruments here could be caused by
gravitational or whatever
by these spherical objects. They're creating the weather. These objects could be lifting over the water. They turn on a magnetic field or something and lift water, a dome of water off the surface. Okay, so when I say there's, some other gravitational force or something lifting up a dome of water instead of one big wave, well, we could see how that's possible now when we have this kind of activity going on with these little spheres controlling our weather right here, okay? So if it can lift water into the air, well, don't you think it could lift water up off the surface of the water too? It's lifting water here. Why can't it lift water off the water? So, a new player in our weather factors here, and that's what's kind of making everything really hard to predict anymore, because we have other effects that are contributing in the weather. So it's good to see this and understand it and see it working, and get your eye trained to the fluid motion. Okay. Then later, when you're looking at, say, a weather app, you'll be able to look around, and if you see spheroid action taking place over a time lapse, like on this little app, it'll play, an hour's worth of data in a little loop. And if you can watch the loop and see the motion, well, you can see it's moving this way, right? So you could predict the weather. Hey, if there was a town out this way, look out. You got one of these spheres coming your direction, and it's kicking up weather. I was able to see one of these things moving towards, a certain town that's no longer with us, and I tried to warn the storm chasers. I'm like, hey, it's going towards this area. Warn everybody in that town right now. And they're like, what are you talking about? That's way out of the strike zone, and you're imagining things. And then about 20 minutes later, the town's gone. And they're like, hey, how do you know? Who was that guy? How do you know it was going to hit that town? Well, because I saw the trajectory of the sphere, and I saw another one coming up. There was another one coming up, and when they collide, when this is lifting air and another one collides, remember I was telling you these air masses hit so hard that it makes one rotate? Well, it's the sphere that's shoving that air mass into the other one. And when you can see where they're about to collide and the rotation come off, the town that's underneath that rotation way out here, when these two collide, you make a triangle. This one's going to come up this way, this one's going to come this way, boom, and then activity's going to happen right after the collision, right? So I was able to say, hey, look out for this town way out here, because the collision from the one coming up and this one, it's going to focus right on that area. And now, instead of watching the storm front and studying the weather activity, I was studying the direction and motion of the spheres and what the collision would cause, what kind of turbulent activity said collision would cause. And when one sweeps past and cuts the other one off and keeps going up this way, it causes your anticyclonic rotation, your backward tornadoes and stuff. So a lot of it's been this activity going on when we thought it was something else. Very important discovery right there. Very important discovery. Probably never get any recognition or credit for it or anything like that. They don't want you knowing that stuff. So some of the most important minds in history go unknown. A lot of heroes come and go, and you never hear about them in your history books because it's all been suppressed. It's all right. It's more important that you guys have this information anyway and understand how it works, okay? I'm not in it for money or fame. I'm just trying to help you guys. So wrap it up real quick here. RX34 down to M34, had some absorption. It seems to be tapering off now. Blah, blah, blah. Still expecting earthquake, volcano activity once this suppression event's over. And I think that might be it for now. One last check at the earthquake map. Make sure we haven't had anything really going off. So in the coming days here, like I said, once this pressure is released, don't be surprised to see a big quake around the Ring of Fire, possible tsunami. Okay. I would advise backing away from the coast once that pressure releases until we have our event. Okay. It could be a volcano that sends a tsunami. It could be, several different things. So I'm not here to predict, not forecast too much, but at least give you a heads up that yes, we have absorbed a lot of energy. It hasn't been vented yet. We will see some kind of reaction in the coming days, I believe, when our magnetic grip has been released, because that's what happened last time. We absorbed a bunch and nothing happened. And everybody's like, oh, good, we dodged a bullet. And then as soon as the magnetic grip released, boom, everything started going off. And everybody thought, is that from that solar flare? Because that was a couple of days ago. So it's a delayed reaction. Our earthquake and volcano activity is sometimes a delayed reaction. If we take a big, fast-moving X flare right straight on, the impact could cause a pressure quake from the outside, from pressure from the atmosphere pushing down on the planet. Here, let me pull this up real quick. Just real quick. All it needs a globe. All right, so CME comes, hits like this. It puts pressure on all these rings, all these layers around the planet. That transfers down to the crust and pushes down on the crust, and we get earthquakes from outside pressure pushing in. It's almost like, okay, here's the egg in our hand. The egg is overcooking inside, and it wants to expand outward. It wants to come out like this, right? I got my hand over it and I'm squeezing down like that, holding it together. But once that hand's released, all that pressure wants to expand outward. Good Lord. Was this really? Oh, it's nighttime in Mexico. Never mind. I was going to say their whole country's on fire, but they're having a lot of campfires. People in these regions rely on fire a lot for their cooking and stuff. So when you see stuff like this down below here, it's usually human activity. But when you see stuff like this up here, that's a little different. So pressure causing SO2, causing fires as well. Another thing to warn about, fires. Not only earthquakes or volcanoes, but we could see a rash of fires as well if we don't see a proper distribution of pressure out of the inside of the earth. Okay, so I think that's about it for tonight. I love you all. I miss you all. God bless you all. And until my next show, I will be back. I'm already back. Can't you tell?